Alrighty boys, this is a game I have wanted to talk about for a very long time. And with us recently having done a playthrough of Path of Radiance recently, I think it's a perfect time to do this video. Anyways, this video is going to go into more of my own personal feelings in me growing up with the game. So I see tons of videos on people talking about the story and the gameplay, but some people really touching on some other important topics. And what I mean by that is growing up with this game as a kid, I think it taught me a lot of really good core values actually. This game tackles a lot of very important topics that I see nobody really bring up for some reason. So we're going to go into an overview on a lot of those topics and what this game really means to me. So first up, before anything else, I gotta give a shout out to my dad's friend that actually ended up giving me this game. My dad had some friend who was getting out of gaming, like he had like a wife or something. I don't remember the full story, but he was kind of giving it up and gave me his entire GameCube collection as a kid. I had maybe like 10 games at this time and got handed a collection of about 20 games in a little blue case. This is honestly one of the fondest memories I have of my childhood. Maybe that's sad, but honestly getting an entire 20 games and all of them being absolute bangers on the best console of all time is insane. Anyways, lo and behold, one of these games was Fire Emblem Path of Radiance, my very first Fire Emblem. And on a funny side note, I actually didn't even know that there were other Fire Emblems for a very long time after this game. The next Fire Emblem game that I end up playing is Fire Emblem Three Houses, if this tells you anything. I really thought that was the only Fire Emblem. I didn't even know Radiant Dawn came out, which is the sequel to this game, and I only played that a few years ago actually now. Anyways, let's get a little bit back on track now. So this game was one of my very first strategy games ever actually. I played basically this and some tower defense games on Flash. And boy oh boy did it make me realize just how much more in-depth games could be and how much better they could be than just running around and collecting items like in Mario Sunshine. No knock to Mario Sunshine, that's one of my favorite games of all time too, to be honest. But personally, it made me fall in love with having a little bit more depth to my games, a little bit more strategy, a little bit more thinking involved, you know? But most of all, this game had an incredible story that tackled subjects that most games are too scared to tackle nowadays. And one of these subjects is actually racism. So for whatever reason, most of the reviews that I've seen on this game, people don't really mention the racism much, if at all. And having grown up with this game, I think it actually imposed on me some very good morals. This game with the Lagoos goes into very great depth on racism. As the game progresses, you will see all of the characters in the entire growing and being more accustomed to the Lagoos race. For instance, at the beginning of the game, Ike is very unaware that there even is racism. He accidentally calls Lagoos subhumans because that's what he's been told they are. So Ike doesn't really have much of a change in the game. He's just a kind of nice guy and ends up immediately being very sorry and calling people Lagoos immediately. But there are many other characters that do and some that don't change and still stay racist the entire time, and you really get to see them in a different light as you continue onward. My two greatest examples are Shinon and Soren that both have very drastically different changes. Shinon, I'll go ahead and go first. This guy doesn't really change as far as I can tell. Maybe I didn't do all the supports or anything, so I didn't get to see anything, but from what I can tell, he just stays racist the entire time. And whereas at the beginning of the game, you think of Shinon as being a badass. He comes in, he shoots a bow, he saves the day in one of the chapters. But then slowly but surely, the racism started to kick in, and as things progress and you get later on in the game and see him once kind of as a snotty brat. But my other example character, Soren, really goes through a major growth throughout the game. During the beginning, he has a lot of heated arguments with Lagoos to the point where they almost end up killing each other with a couple of the characters. But slowly over time, we get to see his Soren starts to change his speech. He starts to stop calling them subhumans, starts to say Lagoos. He'll even sometimes start saying sub and then go to Lagoos. And a big part of this change, I believe, is Ike and others really showing him that there is nothing wrong with Lagoos. Soren is forced to see as the Lagoos help them time and time again, and Ike treats them just like any other people. And then if you don't want spoilers, you probably want to skip ahead about a minute, but we find out that Soren actually is part Lagoos. And because of him being a mixed race, he is persecuted on both sides, and because of this, he has a lot of resentment, and that's the reason why he's so against them. And then as Ike shows him that he is just as valuable as anybody else and that he's a person too, and there's nothing wrong with being a mixed race, he finally breaks down and realizes that he was wrong to be persecuting the Lagoos for this whole time and just siding as being a Bjork. Also, I forgot to mention that humans are called Bjork in the Tellius game. Anyways, I'm gonna be honest, I really love the politics in this game. I love the tensions. I love that the people are not all united and there's so many differing ideologies, and that we get to see all of those ideologies tested and tried throughout the game. And because of this, you get to see many different perspectives from many different people on both the Lagoos, the Bjork, the different nations side. We even get to see that the Lagoos themselves of some of the nations are very racist towards the the Bjork. And the big thing throughout the game is you slowly get to see is all of these different nations, all of these different people of all these different races all come together and realize that they're all just people. So I think as a kid, this was one of the greatest narratives and one of the greatest things that kind of set me on the right path morally throughout my childhood. I think it's one of the main reasons why I always kept my streams being where anybody could in my streams, no matter their ideologies, no matter their politics, no matter their thought processes. As long as somebody wasn't going off and spouting off crazy ideologies in my stream and attacking others, then they were allowed in my stream, no matter who they were or what they thought. And because of that, I've seen firsthand is a lot of people who were trolls, who attacked others, who were really mean and stuff, became normal people over time. I just never banned the trolls, and I watched as a lot of trolls became more normalized people over time and really integrated into the stream. I think a big problem personally is that a lot of people extremely demonize everyone, especially when they have differing opinions, and it gets them to be pushed even further into those opinions. Honestly though, I'm just extremely glad I found them. It honestly has taught me so much so much so that I think it fundamentally changed me as a person and made me into who I am today. And I really hope that a lot more games start being a little bit more open to discussing a lot of these issues that are a little bit more controversial, scary for these games to talk about nowadays. I think maybe the world is so divided today because we have so little media that really goes into depth on a lot of these topics because they're so scared. These topics have kind of been pushed into the corner to where everybody just kind of like doesn't talk about them, pretends they don't exist, all these kind of things because they're just so controversial now. And so I just honestly really hope more media goes out and really discusses a lot of these more important issues that people are too scared to. Anyways, hopefully this video made you really think even more in depth on Path of Radiance's story and just how deep and rich it is. Honestly, even today, I think it really does hold up as a story and has great morals, great values, and is a very interesting plot. The game really does make you just think about all these nations, their histories so much, so in depth that I just wish we had a third game. But yeah, I could ramble all day, every single day about this game. I really could, but I think that's about where we wrap this video up. So if you enjoyed, make sure to like and subscribe. Also, comment your feelings on Path of Radiance down in the comments below. I would love to see if you guys have any stories, especially from your childhood, or if you picked the game up recently. Also, finally, we do stream every single day on Twitch and YouTube, so make sure to check us out. We stream about noon each day, Central Time Zone. We play an absolute massive variety of games. We even have a channel point redeem where you can choose what game I play next. And a lot of our streams are about talking about all kinds of topics. It could be anything. It could be just regular topics. It could be political. I don't really mind as long as things stay civil, you know? Oh, it's been a good one, boys. This has been Seb, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.